Hi knitters, I just wanted to talk briefly with you specifically on how to read a chart in knitting. This one does not go into detail about the Wyeth cardigan, although I'm going to use that pattern as a model to show you how to specifically read what you're supposed to do, so you don't have to have it all written out. I've taken one of the charts from the Wyeth cardigan, and when you are going to read a chart, you are going to find the bottom right hand corner, and this is your starting point. If I was reading this as I would a page, I would start up here, so it's the total opposite all the way down in the bottom corner. The right side of the chart has odd numbers typically. The left side has even numbers. Typically, the right side of the chart is the right side of the fabric that you're going to be knitting on. And then you're going to come over here on this side, and these even rows are going to be your purl rows, where you would be coming back on the back side of the garment. So, that being said, let's find number 1. And number 1 is down here in the corner. These little numbers, it's okay if you can't see them. They're just counting stitches across, and so there's no need to like make that where you have to be able to read each of those. Mostly you just want to be able to watch these squares coming across here. Now, there is always a key on a chart. So up in the corner there is a blank square, and then there is a square with a dot in it, and both of those mean something different. The plain square, when you're starting from this side of the chart and you're heading over, the plain square means to knit. You're on your right side of your material, so you're going to knit across until you come to one with a dot in it. When you're on the right side of your material, a dot means to do the opposite of what you have been doing, and in this case it's purl. So this chart would actually start off on the very bottom with a purl, purl, then knit, 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 purl, purl, knit, 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 purl, purl, and then you're going to knit all the way over to the end. Now, what happens when you get to the end? Well, in this particular case, because you're going to be going over quite a stretch of material, this chart will repeat across the sweater. So you're going to start right over here. You're going to come over to the edge, go back to the beginning, come over to the edge, go back to the beginning, come over to the edge, as long as you're on the right side of the material. Now, when you get to the end of that row and you're turning it around backwards and you're getting ready to go on the wrong side, then come up here and find number 2. And number 2, hard to see, right over here, and it would be on the left-hand corner. And you're going to follow number 2 stitches across. And what you will see, this chart, a lot of times they start presenting themselves and you start seeing predictable patterns coming through. And your mind will actually be able to understand how these are laid out, and you won't have to always be looking at your symbols and going, oh wait, what was I supposed to do there, because that one is different. It will just kind of flow, and it will come natural. Okay, so we're coming back on row 2. All of these white squares, because we are on the wrong side, if we look at our key, they have changed to purl stitches. So this would read purl several stitches, and then now we're going to come to 2 with the dot in it. All right, go up to my key and I look, and the dot means that I need to knit where the dot is. So it's purl across, knit, knit, purl 3, knit, knit, purl 3, knit, knit. Then I'm going to come back over here to the same place, and I need to repeat this across, across, across. Then when I get to the end of that wrong side, I will be ready to shift up to what is numbered as row 3 down here in the corner, and I will come across and follow that pattern that we have established. You won't have to constantly be looking at that key up in the corner. It will start flowing. It becomes very predictable. Some people like to take take their charts like this, and they actually like to write numbers right here. So they would actually count out how many square and write it on top of that. Count how many squares, write it on top of that. And then that way they just get a real feel for how far they're supposed to go in those blocks without having to constantly recount. Now, in this particular instance, because this pattern is repeated over and over across this sweater, something that's going to come in very helpful, I feel, is to put a marker. So I start on row 1, I head over, slip a marker in. That lets me know that I finished one repeat of this chart. Okay, now I'm going to come over, do another repeat of the chart, stick another marker in, do another repeat of the chart, stick another marker in, and do that all the way across, and that will help you know when the charts are changing. I made a big mistake on mine, and I talked about it a little bit on my other video, that I totally misread the chart. It's not life or death if you mess it up. Just make sure whatever you do is consistent and looks good and is very pleasing to the eye. It's okay to come up with a new design if you would like. Let me show you. I printed off an extra copy of this chart to show you how back to back this design is going to present itself. Let's see here if I can put these up. Yep. Here we go. Okay. All right. Can you see that there is a natural space that's happening in here? And this is where some people like to write numbers and fill in these blank spaces with like 13 if there's 13 stitches there, 5 if there are 5 stitches there. Obviously your eye can see 3, 2, and 3, but sometimes on these bigger places where it's not predictable, it's a little easier to stick yourself in some numbers, and it kind of just gives you something to look back on. All right, that's how you're going to be able to read a chart. And most all charts, if they are knitted flat, would be read like this. So you can use this as a resource for other projects and other patterns. Happy knitting!